Welcome back, everybody. I'm Doug, and this is Dying to Retire. And I want to give you a brief rundown of everything I've done so far. Today is my last day here in Guatemala. I was able to move my departure flight up. So I'm leaving early this evening. I'll get home back in the DC area very early in the morning. I'll take an Uber home or a taxi home, whatever you want to call it, and surprise the wife because the wife is still under the guise that I am returning home on Friday morning. So I'm going to surprise her a little bit. Now, she's probably going to be madder than a wet cat, but she'll scream at me a little bit. Why'd you spend all the money? And then I'll probably take her out to breakfast, feed the cats, then take her out for breakfast. So she'll be good. So let me give you a wrap up of what I've done so far. I arrived on the 15th here in the Guatemala, and I'm staying here at my father-in-law's house that he shares with his brother. My father-in-law's still up in Maryland. This is their house, the family home in Guatemala City. I was here about 4 days before we went down to Antigua. This area in Guatemala, it's not zone one, it's zone dos, but it's an older part of zone dos. It's kind of run down um, compared to the newer parts of Guatemala. And you can see the difference, the newer parts and the older parts of Guatemala. It is day and night. Now, this is, like I said, beautiful house, old bones, but it's got some issues, bad plumbing, poor natural lighting, limited airflow. I mean, up here, I have a lot of light. Downstairs, not so much, okay? But these insights or this experience, being in this house a few days before I went to Antigua to look at homes, provided me a lot of, how can I say, insights. The experiencing these minor discomforts set a baseline for what I must have in a new home, what I can live with, what I cannot live without. Okay. Specifically, good plumbing, good lighting, and airflow. It drove it home. Right. So suffering through it was a learning experience before I hit Antigua. So let me just go through here. Now, arrived on a Friday. On Monday, I went to the US Embassy. I had to get a certified copy of my passport with a stamp on it for RENAP. It's part of the residency process. We'll come back to that a little bit. The process at the embassy, the new embassy here, went very smooth. One thing I'm going to note, and wonder if anybody's ever saw it, I'm standing in line, and again, I'm a person, trained observer, however you want to call it. I was watching a lot of the younger or older women wearing the native dress when because they're getting visas to come to the United States. But going into the embassy, you have to go through metal detectors. So you get rid of all your stuff, right? Take it out of your pocket. And I'd see young and old women going in and out. What was funny is each time they went in and out, something else came out from that wraparound skirt that they're wearing. And from coins to pins to no knives or weapons. I didn't see any of that. Could have been, they probably left them in the car, hopefully. Didn't see that, but it was actually little coins things. So my question, does those things have pockets in there? Now, my wife is a Chipina, but she's never worn these outfits before. She probably should. They look very cute. Wonder how long it takes them to take them off, but it was just insane. But it was a side note, but really interesting. It's like there's got to be pockets in there because they were pulling change and everything out, each time they went through the metal detector. So after I was at the embassy, that was the last document I needed. I went to meet my Latin lawyer. That went well for the meeting. He said I had everything needed. We'll come back to that in a moment. So dropped off the stuff, showed me some things that I had. We talked a little bit, chatted. Um, then I had my driver take me to Antigua. Nice drive, about an hour, hour and a half. There was a lot of traffic going down because you are going up and going back down. So, and there anybody's in here, it's a lot of traffic. So, I stayed at a really nice hotel. I was on the outskirts of Antigua area, but still in Antigua. It's called, and you've seen some of the shorts, Hotel Salo. Very nice hotel. I was like 3 days, 4 nights. Well, excuse me, 3 nights, 4 days. Now, while I was down here, because it was kind of a working vacation, if you can call that, I worked with two different realtors. And I'm going to come back to a second. I did not get a lot of time to see Antigua proper because I was going back and forth looking at houses. So each day, got up early, went out with a real estate agent, then came back later in the evening, super tired, take a shower, go to bed, wash, rinse, repeat. That's how the days were going, right? So house hunting, and like I told you guys, I was going to be doing this. When I was looking at the homes, I was not just looking at the homes, I was also looking at the communities. And that was super important. So I saw a lot of good houses and I saw a lot of bad houses. I saw some good communities and I saw some bad communities, one in particular. Now, the first two houses the realtor showed me, beautiful houses. I forget the gentleman's name who's the builder, but he did a fantastic job on those two houses. The other photos here. And the only thing was the community, because it was just houses. It's a street or two streets going up of just houses, slightly on a hill. There was no clubhouse. There was no exercise area. There was no nothing. Excuse me. At the window here. I'm breathing the fresh scent of Guatemala diesel fuel. So the homes, were nice, but there was no amenities in the clubhouse. And again, you didn't have the best views that I wanted, but the homes were beautiful. I'm telling you, he built them really, really nice. The bad thing, and it was really a bad community, it's called Antigua Gardens, and you'll see it posted everywhere. And this is my opinion and my opinion alone. When you drove in there, when we drove in, I'm looking around, I'm going, what type of piece of shit Section 8 housing is this? Now, inside, because when you go through the gate, it's on a hill, it's a shit ton of trees. And I'm talking these little thin trees that are all over the place. There's telephone poles with wires, power and electrical and telephone wires being strung all over the across the community. And I'm like, what type of shit is this? So we saw a couple houses, I think three in that area, and one was a brand new build, and the quality of the workmanship just no. Where the wall meets the baseboard, the paint was just slapped on. You could just see where it was slapped on. They didn't give a shit, or it seemed like it did. They didn't give a shit. And if you were on the balcony for that one and the other houses, because there's one that looked nicer, if you're on the balcony, you got to be mindful of the way they're doing the photos. And the realtors, I know it's a job and this is what they have to do. But when you're looking at the photos, you don't see that if you're standing there on your balcony, you feel like you can reach out and grab a power line or a telephone line. It is that close to your balcony on some of these. You feel the same way for the tree. It's like this gnarly little, very slim tree, you feel like you can reach out and grab them. And the other part is you don't have a really good view of Volcan Agua or Volcan Fuego. You really don't have a view of it. And that's to me was something, sorry, something, you want the views, you want everything like that. Plus all these trees block any good breeze coming in. So again, I call it Section 8 housing. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but it was Section 8 housing to me. However, we did find an area I liked, and we'll talk about that later. It's going to be a little bit over my budget, but we'll make it happen. It was nice. Clubhouse nice, everything nice. The house I really loved, someone found out and said, oh my God, a gringo's looking at it. So the person who had been thinking about it pulled the trigger on it because he was worried about this gringo getting it. And that's a beautiful freaking house. You had views everywhere. Perfect. You get from the master bedroom upstairs, you had actually had views of both, depending on which way you looked out your windows, both volcanoes. It was very nice and unobstructed views. That's really the best thing. The house I'm gonna get will be built a little bit around there, around the corner. Not as good as view from one window, but just as good from the other. So we'll deal with it, and I get more into that later. So I get back, on Friday, a couple days, we're going around. We went to mall, so I'll talk about that in a second. And I had to go to RENAP on the Thursday. So we had scheduled August 28th to go to RENAP. I go there. It's part of the residency process. Thought I had all my paperwork. Young lady's taking me there. It was kind of interesting. But apparently, it did not, well, not apparently, it did not go well. Because apparently RENAP, while they've seen Social Security pension papers that have been apostilled, military retirement papers that have been apostilled, they've never seen the OPM for federal employees retirement papers apostilled. They thought where it said monthly annuity meant yearly. So my monthly check, they wrote that out as being a yearly check. And there's a $1,300 minimum requirement per month. I beat it, and I have other revenue streams, but as I told you, only use one because if it ever hit you on taxes, you don't want everything showing, right? So long story short, or short story long, however you want to call it, I'm going to have to go home, get some special paperwork done, have that apostilled again. And then I'll come back in roughly late October, early November, a very short trip. So I'll pre-plan with my lawyer, say, hey, is this all good? He's going to say yes. I'll DHL the stuff down to him. And then I'll say I'm coming between these dates, make an appointment with RENAP so we can get this whole process going. Because I have to do it sooner because the other paperwork may expire. So I have to do that. I'm also going to redo my background because by the time I come back, the old one expires. So I got to do that. So I have to return, like I said, October, November timeframe. In the meantime, between everything else, this is where I want to go. I visited 3 different malls down here, and they're really nice malls. I'm going to give them an order what's best into the below. And I think there's 2 more major malls in here, but I went to 3. The first one's called Oakland Place. That is a very nice upscale mall. It's got like 400 shops and everything else, but I think they're including tiendas. Excuse me, kiosk. So it's got a lot of stuff in there. If you're familiar with the DC area where you've gone to Pentagon City, gone to Tyson's Galleria or Tyson's Mall, Oakland Place makes them look like Lake Forest Mall 2 years before it closed, permanently several years ago. It is a very nice mall. Now, many of the stores are a little bit smaller because they're not carrying as much merchandise. But I'm going to tell you right now, during the weekday, it wasn't as full, busy. That can't even speak today. If you go there Saturday and Sundays, you'll see the malls are with people. This is a thing people do with their families. Take them out. They go to the mall. Pretty much, excuse me, again, the diesel fuel because a house across the way has been converted from a house to being a warehouse. And it's the local warehouse that supplies the multiple bodegas around here. So you'll have a diesel truck sitting out here for hours, just idling. It's fun to watch. I learned a lot looking out this window. It's 75, 65, 70 degrees, and the people are running out here with thick, thick winter coats. It's kind of funny, man. They're complaining about freezing, and I'm sitting there wearing a t-shirt, right? So the Oakland Mall, getting back to on track, the Oakland Mall, super nice. One thing I'm going to say, all 3 malls, it's really like dinosaurs here because all 3 malls, I think, has a dinosaur little area, animatronic dinosaurs, like life-size animatronics, not the T-Rex, but like the rhinoceros or whatever you call that one, the Stegosaurus, one with the big horn. I don't know, I'm not into dinosaurs. Okay. The one after that we went is the Naranjal Mall. It's a little smaller than Oakland. It's a nice mall. It's the mid-level on there. It's not Oakland, but it's not Portales. And the last one, Portales, right? Now, Portales is a mall, and it's the closest one here for the everyday person, right? But also, you'll think it's the people of Walmart Mall, okay, a little bit, because I was people watching yesterday. And it was kind of interesting. I had breakfast over there at San Martin's. The breakfast is really awesome. But like I said, the malls, people at Walmart Mall. The entrance you come in, there's multiple restaurants sitting there as you come in, including the San Martins. And unfortunately, where you come in, I think they were having a plumbing leak or where the air was coming out from a plumbing. And all you had was a sewer smell being blown into the mall while everyone's trying to eat breakfast with their families. No bueno, as they say. So it was kind of interesting. Um, some general observations I've been making talking to the different Uber drivers, my real estate agents, family members here, as well observations of people in the malls. There is money in Guatemala. Believe it or not everyone here is poor. There's people making some money, right? And I'm not talking about cartels, but because that's the government, right? So, and you have some people flaunt it and some people don't. There's part of this community that lives on a cash-based society, and they don't want you to know they have the cash. It's like the old when I got out of the military a long time ago, I worked at a local hardware store, lumber yard, and you remember those old men who are the not hairy homeowners, but your local handyman and stuff like that. And he go makes an order, and you're waiting for him to pull out a check. Reaches into one of his pockets or 2 of them, has wrapped in a rubber band $10,000 in cash, and that's his spending money for the work he's doing. Yeah, you'll have people like that, and they just don't want you to know it down here. There's a whole lot more. And the reason why they prefer the cash-based economy, taxes. Now, the taxes are lower here, but it's not like the United States. And that's why you go to the digital and everything else, you'll be tracked. So cash is still king a little bit down here. The other thing I notice in people watching is there are some many fit individuals. I showed up at Oakland Mall the other day. I was there before it opened. They have their version of mall walkers. Unlike the United States, the mall walkers were not my age. They're like a 25 to 35-year-old young ladies. It was pleasant to sit there and watch. Honey, please do not watch this video or I'm a dead man. No one tell her I'm a dead man. All right. However, also in many of these malls, and you'll notice there are some what I like to call Guatemalteca muffin tops. All right. There's a lot of that. You'll see them from the back. She's pretty nice face and everything like that. Wonder if you can hear the ice cream truck going by. Uh, but then when you see the profile, you realize, muffin top. So there is Guatemalteca muffin tops. And the reason I'm saying that is for, again, I'm married, not saying anything about the wife, about the wife. Okay. All right. For the men looking for potential romance down here, you need to keep this in mind. She may not have the muffin top now, but look at her mom, look at her grandma, look at her sisters, cousins. It can happen. I've seen even the fittest ladies running around or somewhat fit, and they all got muffin tops. So I'm going to wrap this up and let me just do my kind of reflections. What was really interesting, like I said, and it felt terrible in the beginning, but now I can live with it, is my reflections. The bad plumbing experience has left a lasting impression. I'm scarred. And here's the story, and it's going to be disgusting, but what the hell? I know some of the people listening are former military. Guatemala City is famous for having low pressure pipes, right? The plumbing. So at night times when the pressure happens, well, this is an older house, and after a plumber was here for fixing something I wanted to be fixed for my father-in-law when he comes down, because the water had been turned off for a while, and I've been holding it for a while. And let's just say a deuce and a half was dropped, and there was no water to get it out of the garage. And I'm like, okay, we can deal with that. And this is a gringo's not accustomed to this stuff. It's not what usually happens, right? We can deal with that. No one go in that bathroom. I'm upstairs. No one else is here. Water pressure usually comes back at night. It didn't. This morning, it didn't. I couldn't even take a shower. Took one downstairs later. Uh, about 5 a.m., I had to ask for a bucket of water to manually flush the deuce and a half out of the garage. It is not something I want to do. It's actually a horror story. You don't want the people you're visiting because you're the big gringo American, right? And you got to flush your deuce and a half like everyone else. Yeah. So it was not a pretty picture. My wife kind of laughs at it. That's what they do down there. Well, that's not what I do. So again, it kind of pushes me to realize whatever house I get, it's going to have the decent plumbing along with the airflow and stuff. I'm going to have a decent water pump to make sure I got water pressure throughout the house. And the one I'm looking at does better so than the other houses, right? So I know it's a humorous note, scary note, scarring note. It's not something you want happen to you, but it happens here often, okay? A lot more often than you think. It still was not pretty, okay? Still not pretty. On that note, I'm going to close out here because I am running a little bit long. I'd love to hear any one of you guys' experiences, Guatemala or anywhere else. Please put it in the comment section below. I would love to hear about your experiences. I'll answer any questions I can. Just drop them in there. The other part is if you found value in this episode, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps me grow this channel, put out my experiences, what I'm going through. As always, I'm Doug. This is Dying to Retire, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Don't go in there. It's not good for you. No, I wouldn't go in there.